Hey guys, hope everyone's doing really well today or tonight. I wanted to make a quick video on exactly why life design is so important. Now, life design, long story short, is pretty much just being really intentional with how you craft your life and I guess how, you know, where you go to work, where you wake up in the morning, or when you wake up in the morning, sorry, where you live, the people you surround yourself with, the kind of hobbies or activities you do. It's pretty much just like designing your life, right? So if you were someone external looking at your life, what kind of things would you change to kind of tailor that person to be the best that they can or to live the best life possible? So that's pretty much what life design is. And yeah, I just wanted to make a quick video discussing what it is, why it's so important, how you can do it yourself, and just kind of some considerations as well when you're doing some planning for life design. So let's get into it. So yeah, like I alluded to earlier, life design is pretty much just being intentional about how you shape your life and how you align your values, priorities, and long-term goals with your actions, your day-to-day actions. For example, if you're someone who really values, volunteering or giving back, right, to not have elements in your day where you kind of either contribute to charities or you assign an hour to volunteer, or you can be on some type of call center line where people can call you for a little bit. um, if you're not doing these things but you deep down want to, you're keen to volunteer or keen to give back, I mean, this isn't a life that's really aligned with what exactly you want. Now, if you're someone who spends a lot of money and might gamble a lot, for example, or just has really bad spending habits, if one of your long-term goals is to build up wealth, like generational wealth for your family and your children, um, then that's just not going to fly because the actions aren't actually conducive to what the outcome is that you want, which is to build wealth. Now, yeah, life design is about how deciding you want to live rather than passively going through life. So I think this is really important because 99% of people, I feel, maybe not that high, but quite a few, the, the, the vast majority of people go through life just based on, where they live, maybe, where they went to university, where they found friends or where they went to school, whatever job would take them. They kind of just do the bare minimum almost to kind of assess their life, and they just kind of go through life with what they have or what they've been given. So most people, if you're born in Australia or America, most people aren't going to leave, and go venture out and maybe start a new life in another country or another city. They're going to stick to what they know. They're going to go to this. They're going to hang around the school or the areas that they're most familiar with, and they are probably going to go to, um, you know, university or work where they also feel comfortable or where they know people from their neighborhood, right? Or they might even have a family, connection or a relative or something like that that can get them that job. So it's all very tight knit and it's all very passive. It's not very intentional. It's not going out of the way to actually, get 100% of what you want. You might be getting 60% to 70%, going through passively and just kind of going with the flow. But I think, getting that extra, 20 to 30% out of life is being more intentional through life design. So, for example, right, if you looked at your morning routine, is that something you want to be doing long term? Are you waking up really early and you want to be sleeping in? Are you not going to the gym in the mornings, but you envision yourself as someone every morning going to the gym? How you work. A lot of people are saying that the 9 to 5 isn't for them, and in that case, would you prefer to freelance? Would you prefer to um, you know get income through affiliates, or through writing blog posts or sponsored blog posts? There is so many different options for how you can tweak your life and tailor it, but it all just depends on you. Another really good one is who you spend your time with. So you might be spending time with the people that you've known since school or university, or even some work friends. But would you have gone out of your way to meet them otherwise? Probably not. You guys would be close because you have that similar interest, or been pushed together through a school or something similar. Now, if these people aren't really people you genuinely want to be around, I mean, you know, take that into consideration, because you can make an effort to find people, you know, outside these passive areas of meeting people, being a little bit more intentional, maybe finding people on social media, reaching out to people at a gym or a run club or something of that nature, where it actually requires you to be more intentional, make an effort, and actually go out of your way to meet people. Where you live is a really big one as well. I know people in America complain all the time about politics, or people in um, Australia, for example, might complain about cost of living, but the reality is no one's really, keeping you here. You might have family, you might have a job, you might have everything going for you where you're currently from. But if the cost of living pressure or politics you know, is a bigger issue, is one of the biggest issues for you, then it will be less of an issue to move your family overseas, move to a different city. You know, so a lot of these problems can be solved just by being a little bit more intentional. Now, will they require work? Absolutely, but that's how you get the most out of life design. That extra 20 to 30% to doing hard things. Now, you might say, I can optimize for, getting 100%, but I'm already at 70 to 80%. Like, why? Who cares? And the reality is, like, obviously, life, you know, is finite, right? We don't have unlimited years. We're here for about 80 years. So if you can make those the most meaningful and fulfilling years, I mean, why would you not at least give it a go? Because that's all you get. But unfortunately, most people don't do this. Um, they go and live very passively, and they might live an okay life. But if you only got one shot, why would you not want it to be the absolute best? So that's a little bit about what life design actually is and why it's so important. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this is awesome. This sounds really good. Now, how can I design my life to what I want? So, I think the very first thing you need to do is actually understand where you're currently at and where you want to be. Now, you can use things like journaling, reflecting. You can even ask other people in your life what they feel you would work best in, or what they see you doing, or the vibe that they get from you. And I think you'll find a lot of the time that your current situation isn't actually where you'd like to be. It might be okay, right? You might be doing fine, day to day. You might be somewhat happy. Not no massive issues, but it's not where you're thriving, right? You're just doing okay. So really taking some action to kind of reflect and really identify just those values and exactly where what what will keep you going, right? What is really exciting, and what do you really want out of life? I know, for example, a lot of people are really big on family, right? And their main goal is to just create a healthy family, and then to make sure that they're set up for life, and that's awesome. Other people are really big on achievement. So, for example, athletes, people creating companies, people studying and doing research at different universities and finding new things. This is really important to them, right? So, if they're not doing those things, or if they feel like these are values that they want to have, but they're not doing anything about it, then you're going to live a subpar life, really. For other people as well, they just really like to grow. They really like to learn every day. They really want to, you know, get the most out of life. Experience the most. Maybe they might pick up surfing, maybe jujitsu, maybe they might learn to cook the next day. They're just doing lots of different things. Now, wealth is obviously a really big one. A lot of people are centered around wealth because, I mean, it's such an important thing in today's society, especially with cost of living and wealth having such an influence in our society. So that might be another big thing for you in terms of designing your life around making money. And if that's your goal, then that's also totally fine. Now, once you've actually understood or found out what your values are, what fulfills you, what your purpose is in life, then that's when you want to define your vision, right? And that's looking at where you want to be in the next 1, 3, 5 years, right? Even 10 years, 20 years. Now, you can look at it kind of forward, where you can say, in 1 year I want to be fit, in 3 years I want to be really wealthy, and in 5 years I want to have a family. You could do it that way. Another way you could do it is envisioning yourself at 80 years old or 60 years old, and you know what do you want that person to look like? What do you want that person to, have in their bank account, friends, family, what they've achieved in life, and then work backwards. So either looking forward or working backwards, whichever works easier for you. But just defining that vision and, yeah, I guess envisioning where you want to be in the future. Now, once you've established that, I think it's really important to then set goals and create systems to support that, because things happen over time, and people drop off, and events happen, things that you don't expect. So, being able to create goals and systems to you know keep yourself pushing forward regardless of what happens around you. Maybe that's like a weekly journal, weekly reflection to catch up and seeing where you're at. um, Maybe it's for the next 5 years you're going to the gym a couple times a week, and if you happen to go 5 times a week by the fifth year, that's awesome. But it's all about setting those goals and systems to ensure actions consistent over time. Because how do you expect someone to be you know an athlete at 60 years old when they're not putting in the work through those years up to 60 years of age? And a 60-year-old athlete would be crazy. But just an example of, for example, The Rock. The Rock is pretty old, but he's super buff. So it's definitely possible to be that way. You just need to be consistent. Now, another thing I think I alluded to earlier was actually implementing reminders to take action regularly and to review those and tweak your life design over time. Now, it is the default option is to be passive. So it's very easy to slip back into just being passive and not being more intentional and pushing forward in your life. So don't be surprised if you kind of go off the track a little bit. That's fine. But you need to kind of have reminders set in place to bring you back to being on track and progressing towards that dream 60-year-old, 80-year-old life, or wherever you want to be in the future. Now, obviously, over time, things change, right? I know for me personally, moving overseas was a really big thing, and now it's a little bit less so. It's still very interesting, but it's just not one of those priorities. So, this isn't something that, it might have been on my life design last year, and now it's going to be tweaked to something a little bit different. So, it doesn't have to be, you're not setting up everything and set in stone. It's something that you can kind of tweak and evolve and tailor over time. Now, a couple examples of how life designs actually help people. So, for example, excuse me. So, for example, right, if someone's starting a new job in a different industry that they actually really genuinely want to work in, like they get really excited just by envisioning that that's what they want to do in their life, right? It might pay slightly less, and that's generally a trade-off because a lot of people stay in their job because it pays well, and they're afraid to not be making as much. But if you can kind of envision in 5 years' time that you're actually going to be making a lot more than what you're making now, just solely because like you're actually genuinely happy and you want to work, and it might mean that you're putting in more hours. It might mean that you're learning a lot, and the learning curve is very steep. But you're going to be ahead further just because you're so much more willing and interested to actually do the work, versus just doing a mundane job that pays well at the time, but you won't progress anywhere because you're not actually enjoying it and you're not doing that well. So going somewhere where you can thrive would be an example of life design. And yes, there's a sacrifice in the short term, but the long term will pay off well. Another good example, which I alluded to earlier, was moving overseas to where you feel like you belong better and can have a more luxurious life. Now, these are some examples, right? But a lot of people find that they might vibe better in maybe a country that maybe their parents are from, maybe where their values are a little bit more similar. For example, if you're really big on the whole, digital nomad thing or relaxing at the beach, right? Somewhere like Thailand would work really well. It won't work as well in America or Australia just because everyone's more, they're here to work, and there's less of that relaxing culture and it's more of work. So maybe you would belong better somewhere else like that. Another example would be living a more luxurious life. Now, you might not actually be paying more to live that life, but just because the cost of living is so much cheaper somewhere else, like for example Thailand, you're able to live that luxurious life. And for you, if you envision, say, waking up and you have a penthouse and you're overlooking the water, and you have a gym and you have everything, it might not be possible where you currently live. In New York, that would be super expensive. So it's like, move somewhere where that's possible. That would be an intentional life design choice to do so. Now, another one which I've done personally was, become minimalist to some degree to help mental clarity and productivity. Now, for me, in Australia, a lot of people around me are obviously purchasing and buying and consuming things on the daily. Boxing Day has people waiting 3 to 4 hours just to buy things. But for me personally, I didn't end up buying anything. I haven't bought anything in a while. And instead, actually, I end up spending my money on experiences and spending time with people rather than actually buying things. So, I'm recording this on a older MacBook. I have an old iPhone, and it's not that I'm being cheap or anything. It's just it's meant that I don't have to worry about buying the new greatest things. I can just kind of live my life and just exist. And if something needs replacing, I'll replace it. But otherwise, I don't have to worry about anything. It's made my life quite worry free and stress free, and I've been able to save money in the process. Now, the last thing here, it could be, as an example, could be joining different clubs or creating content to find people that align with your goals and mission. Now, joining a club, that is an intentional choice. It's a little bit scary, but for example, a running club or a gym or a jiu-jitsu club, or maybe if you want to join surfing, right? These are all things that for a lot of people could be scary, or they don't know where to start, or it's expensive, or it's this, or it's that. Being able to join clubs or create content that relates with your intended audience or people who you vibe with will just mean you're able to connect with those that you actually resonate with the best, and create that circle of supportive people that are also kind of aligned with your values and mission, versus just hanging around with the people that you've known since school, and they might be fun people, but they're not really as ambitious as you, or they're not kind of moving in that same direction. So I'm not saying you need to cut them out or anything, but being intentional with who you hang around with and finding people that will actually allow you to grow is another example of life design. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys have learned something as well and found it valuable. If you can, yeah, I'll definitely suggest taking some time to kind of write things out, see where you want to be, and then taking some action to start implementing that over time. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.